Hey there everyone, AJ back again for the Mighty Glue Stick channel. Let none say that I'm not responsive to my viewers. So those of you who have been yelling at me to make a video on the Hydra, here we go. The oldest images of the monster are found on a pair of bronze fibulae, or clothing fasteners, brooches, dating back to around about 700 BC. Even then it was an established mythical beast, so the tale of it probably goes back another few centuries. Who knows? We know of it, of course, from the legend of the 12 Labors of the mighty Heracles. To cut a long story short, he went into a swamp, mouth covered with a cloth, and did battle with a many-headed serpent that grew back any that were lopped off. And it could not be killed until every head was severed, a task only a hero of legend could accomplish. From its origin in Greek mythology, the Lernaean Hydra, or Hydra of Lerna, was a serpentine water monster. It is not a dragon in Earth mythology, but scholars from Candlekeep are of the opinion that these creatures on Toril are an offshoot species that have evolved from the proto-dragons. Back on Earth, Lerna was reputed to be an entrance to the underworld, and the Hydra was the offspring of the serpentine giant called Typhon and his wife Echidna, the half-woman, half-snake. It was Hera who raised the monster for the sole purpose of murdering Heracles, though. The Lernaean Hydra is extremely deadly. The creature is poisonous in every way. Its bite is poisonous, its blood, even its breath has clouds of gas that are poisonous. The Lernaean Hydra possesses 9 heads. It's also supposed to have an immortal head, which will continue to bite and move no matter if it's attached to its body or not. The poison was so potent that arrows dipped in its blood by Heracles and used to kill a centaur also poisoned a river that the centaur died near. The poison washed into the river and made every fish inedible, poisonous. Given that sort of ancestry, the Hydra would fit snugly into the category of creatures created by the ancient reptilian creator race, the Saruk, at the same time that they were creating many other reptilian races, including the yuan-ti. The Hydra is categorized as a magical beast mainly because of its incredible regenerative processes and also the fact that some breeds have a breath weapon. The Cryo-Hydra, native to the Umber Marshes in Aglarond, have the ability to breathe frost from each of their heads. Otherwise, they're very similar to other Hydra. The Pyro-Hydras are found in the Peaks of Flame in Cholt, and also native to the elemental plane of fire. They can breathe jets of fire in a cone from each of their heads. The more common and widespread Hydra prefers to dwell in fetid swamps and waterways. They can do this and come into conflict with green and black dragons now and then, but they're not very smart, about as clever as the level of an animal intelligence, and dragons can usually manage to turn the Hydra into a territorial advantage, herding them into a spot where they are alert and aggressive by nature, and this beast actually protects the dragon's lair. Be very wary when approaching what seems to be the soggy backwaters of a dragon's domain. Hydras have no wings, but they are accomplished swimmers and can hold their breath for an hour, so they will usually attack from ambush, lurking beneath the water's surface in a manner similar to a crocodile. When they engage in combat, they employ a very simple but effective tactic. They will rush into the range of the victim, latch on with a successful bite from 2 heads, and haul the victim back into the water or out of range, or melee range of its attackers. Then it will launch a concentrated frenzy of bites with all of its heads on that one target, killing it as fast as possible. Then it will pick off the next victim. They're not smart enough to know which is the best choice. They just take whatever is closest to them. Although they do concentrate on fire. I'll talk about that in a second. This pattern of lunging into attack and then retreating to finish off one target is both an excellent use of their massive advantage in offensive weaponry. It also gives them time to take advantage of their supernatural regenerative ability. The monster manual states that the Hydra has 5 heads, or more precisely that they start off with 5 heads. But this is really up to you, as I'll become clear in a moment. While it has more than 1 head, the Hydra has advantage on saving throws against being blinded, charmed, deafened, frightened, stunned, and knocked unconscious. Whenever the Hydra takes 25 or more damage on a single turn, one of its heads dies. If all its heads dies, the Hydra dies. Sounds simple enough, right? Not so fast. At the end of its turn, it grows 2 heads for each of the heads that died since the last turn, unless it has taken fire damage since the last turn. The Hydra lives in a swamp and frequently retreats into the water. Also, It's smart enough to attack the source of any fire. It hates fire. It will single them out. Normally, I would say acid will also have pretty much the same effect, but I leave it up to you, in case you want to give the player characters more of a fighting chance. The Hydra regains 10 hit points for each head regrown, so 20 hit points per head it's lost each round. If the player characters manage to inflict 60 points of damage, then the Hydra still loses only one head. It says 25 points or more, and regains 20 points the very next round. It also has become a more lethal killing machine because the Hydra has as many bite attacks as it has heads. Not only that, they do get to bite a target every round with each head. Those heads all grant an additional bonus reaction specifically for attacks of opportunity. The Hydra can make an opportunity attack when an enemy that it can see moves out of its 10-foot bite reach. To make the opportunity attack, it can use its reaction to make one bite attack against the provoked creature. The attack occurs right before the creature leaves its reach. You can avoid provoking an opportunity attack by taking the disengage action. Also, you don't provoke an opportunity attack when you teleport or when someone or something moves you without using your movement or as an action or a reaction. For example, you don't provoke an opportunity attack from the Hydra if an explosion hurls you out of its reach or if the Hydra itself has thrown you out of its reach. So the Hydra starts with 5 bite attacks and with another 5 potential bites if, for whatever reason, you provoke an attack of opportunity, inviting the Hydra to turn you into a humanoid fang repository. If you hurt it enough to destroy a head but don't manage to kill it or fry it with fire, it now grows another head and another attack and potential opportunity attack on the next round. This means if you're fighting this thing and it keeps away from your flames and it concentrates on one attack target at a time, at minimum, it attacks with 5 bites, potentially 30 to 75 points of damage if they all hit. It has a +8 to hit, so yeah, probably. After a few rounds of its hit and fade tactics, the thing could be striking with 8 heads, landing up to 120 points of damage on a single victim. The Hydra is a challenge rating 8 creature, what we would call a solo skirmisher in 4th edition. It has an armor class of 15, natural armor, 172 hit points and a speed of 30 feet or land, or a swim speed of 30 feet per round in the water, or even mud. Darkness out to 60 feet. Passive perception is a high 16, as you would imagine, and it essentially never sleeps thanks to all of those heads. But you can most certainly beef up the Hydra considerably. Be advised, I'm going on to uncharted territory, so be wary of beefing up a Hydra until you've tested it against a lower level party. First off, it's really supposed to be highly poisonous. It should be inflicting vicious poison effects as a layer feature, as an incidental result of standing too close to them when you deal a critical wound, because the blood spray is highly toxic. And every bite should be injecting venom. I mean, that's straight out of the folklore and mythology. So let's set the difficulty class for Hydra Venom at a Constitution saving throw 16 or better, and that's going easy on the players. This is one of the world's most lethal poisons. It should be inflicting something like 15 damage, save for half. You could reduce this down to 1d6 damage, save for half, minimum 1, but it confers the poison condition on the victim and reduces their maximum hit points by the amount of poison damage you take. Or you could have it inflict the poison condition and the character has to save against the poison's DC each round to avoid taking another 1d6 damage from it for every bite they did not save against when it was inflicted. And this carries on until they either get magical healing, a healing potion, or a medicine check from a companion, or they immediately take a short rest right after combat, if they're not dead already, and spend some hit dice to recover. It's a bit of bookkeeping, but it'll be one of the scariest combat encounters your players will ever face and make them very wary of poisonous serpents in future. If you want to go a bit crazy with the difficulty of the encounter, along with a higher hit point total, give it legendary resistance and legendary actions, such as breathing a cone of poison gas, creating difficult terrain when it starts to have its snapping and convulsing heads chopped off, littering the combat area. I would certainly give it the ability to grapple with the heads, making it more and more difficult to escape, depending on how many heads are latched onto the victim, and also give it the ability to bite and throw a medium or smaller victim. The Hydra has a strength of 20, so there's no reason why it could not send adventurers flying and landing in prone heaps. allowing it to retreat and keep in constant motion in the encounter area, as it is wont to do. Hydras nest and lay eggs. They lay eggs, pretty simple nests of sticks and mud. They would find a spot that has large trees and pools of water and mud. This would restrict attackers from surrounding them, provide a means of escape and recovery for the Hydra, allowing it to plunge into a pool to douse flames or to keep out of range of attacks, throw a victim into a muddy quicksand pool to hamper them, get into a position that makes opponents provide those lethal opportunity attacks, as they would have to move around to get to the Hydra, and forgetting to use the disengage action will quickly incur very vicious damage from the Hydra. You might want to limit the Hydra to only growing as many as 12 heads. That's kind of supported by the lore anyway. They're almost always found alone, and they have a neutral alignment, but they're violently territorial. The body of a Hydra is actually full of useful and valuable bits. The enterprising farmer and Hydra hunter Dalgiri of Thunderstone and Cormyr developed a number of useful agricultural products from the body parts of the Hydra. Hydra teeth can be used to fashion almost unbreakable blades for hoes, plows, and saws. A Hydra's hide can be dried and made into warming covers for raspberries, blueberries, and strawberries, maintaining the area around the plants at 7 degrees Fahrenheit or 21 degrees Celsius, extending the growing period deep into autumn. The hide breaks down when the temperature drops below freezing for 2 days in a row. Hydra hides are only effective on these types of berry bush, not on people, beasts, or other plants. This may explain why berry jam is one of Cormyr's most delicious exports. Dried Hydra tongues can be used to predict the weather when hung in the wind like a flag. If the tongue turns red, then the temperature is expected to rise up to 10 degrees Fahrenheit or 5.6 degrees Celsius in the next 24 hours. If the tongue turns green, then the temperature is likely to fall to freezing, and if the tongue turns black, then rain is expected the following day. I imagine if it's going to be freezing and raining, then it's possibly going to turn a weirder colour, purple maybe. Ground powdered Hydra bones are an excellent desiccant. Added to a small grain bin, a pound of ground bone can absorb all moisture and stop rot and mould. A mixture of Hydra fat and cornmeal makes an oddly useful rat poison. It's irresistible to rats, and they grow so fat that they can hardly walk and are easily caught or predated upon. Finally, the head itself, when mounted on a pole in a field, can scare away birds and small mammals, and it can be preserved for up to 6 months. This, of course, would preclude very, very poisonous hydras. I would say bits of their body can be used to kill things, and that's about it. I hope that satisfies your desires for the secrets of serpents with several heads. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back again with more for you very soon. Thanks for the suggestions, everyone. Keep them coming.